Happy Tuesday, Flosstube. Oops. Hello, crafty friends. How's everybody doing today? My name is Caroline. Welcome back. It is Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023, and I am recording here in London, Ontario, Canada. This is a Flosstube vlog style video, number 2 for the month of September, and I am hosting a stitch along / knit along for the month of September for Sampler September. We are working on 2 projects this month. The first one is the Maximum Cross Stitch September's Revenge, as well as a pair of socks, hand-dyed self-striping sock yarn by Timber Yarns. I'll talk about the socks in a little bit. These videos are you know, just a little bit of inspiration for both you and myself to maintain progress throughout the month of September, but also share a little bit of some of the other things that I'm also working on. So it's not just going to be those 2 projects that I'm sharing with you. However, let's have a look at the stitching. So what I'm going to do is, let me just see if I can bring you in a little closer. So here we go. I did quite a bit. I'm right on track. So 272-ish stitches per day. I'm stitching my whip is on 32 count linen, 2 threads over 2. So you can see I've got a good start going on there. And that number of stitches is approximately 6 lengths of floss. So 2 strands, you know, each, you're talking about a, you know, group of 6 that you're pulling from your ring, right? So you would need to pull 2 full sets of 6 and stitch them all, and then you would have your stitching complete for the day. Sorry, that wasn't really focusing with it. See those colors? Look at those. Keeps wanting to focus on everything else around it. There. Look at that. Blue is fantastic. Yeah. Where was I? Got distracted. Yeah, 6 strands, 6 full lengths of floss. So if you're doing 2 over 2, pull out 2 lengths, stitch it, and do that 6 times, and then you've approximately finished the amount of stitching you need to do every day in order for us to be finished this by the end of the month. Okay, so today I have pulled out some peridot, which is that beautiful green color, and I'm going to start working on the vine that's in the roof. So my goal today is to stitch 6 lengths of floss in. I'm gonna try to finish all of this vine that's in the roof, and then if I'm assuming I'm still gonna have more stitches to go, I'm going to carry that vine all the way up and around. So that's what I'm going to be working on next, that big vine that curls through the top of the roof and then goes all the way up and around, leading to that beautiful purple flower there. So that is where I'm headed next. So let's get to it. So I have been working on so many things. Whew, what a weekend. It was, it was a great weekend. Drove up to the cottage on Saturday, and we had some family come from Montreal for a visit, so it was a really busy weekend. They are not crafters, so there were, you know, it's not that I'm ever embarrassed to craft in front of people who aren't crafters. It's just something that I do, and I guess it's, I don't know, you always feel a little bit like you become known as the kind of oddball of the family who's always doing something with their hands, who's always doing something crafty. And invariably somebody asks me to, you know, knit something for them, or teach them how to knit or stitch and something like that. So it can't be that bad, right? If we make more new crafters out of this. So I can't tell you, I am so addicted to knitting these socks. And the sampler September, the pattern for September's Revenge, is such a fun stitch. So I'm going to talk about the knitting first, the sock knitting that I've been doing. This is the yarn by Timber Yarns, and it is the Sampler Striped Timber 2023 sock yarn. And I am knitting the heel toe do-si-do pattern by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady, who is the Crazy Sock Lady. And here's where I'm at so far. Look at that. So you can see the pattern is starting to take shape on the front of the leg. It's got this really fun kind of almost like a chevron pattern there in the front. The cuff was really fun to stitch, and a really different cuff than what I normally knit on a sock. I can already tell you I will definitely be knitting this pattern again because it's really, really fun. I did choose to knit the largest size. I was kind of thinking that I might make these socks for Nicholas. He hasn't been overly keen so far on them. When I showed them to him and I said, would you like these socks? He said, oh, they're nice. I thought, yeah, I'm not giving you a pair of socks that takes me, you know, up to 2 months to make, and that's your reaction. I said, oh, well, you know, you've asked me before to knit you a pair of socks. What kind of socks would you like? He literally pointed at the gray Costco socks that were on his feet, and he said, I'd like you to make me a pair like this. So I guess, remember I made my father-in-law the big gray socks, the pair of big gray socks? Sounds like there might be another pair of big gray socks in my future. But maybe I'll add like a navy stripe or something into the cuff and the toe. Oh, I could do a navy toe and then some navy stripes. That would at least make them a little more interesting. And maybe I could do them in a pattern as well. I could put a little pattern on the front, something very simple. I think he would like those. But it does look like these might end up being for me. My tension when I'm knitting is quite tight, so I still think they will fit, but they might be a little bit slouchy. And in the winter time, sometimes there's nothing better than a nice pair of slouchy socks. So I think that these are going to be pretty perfect for me. I'm going to knit the length of the foot to fit me. I had a question on Instagram yesterday. Somebody was asking me, and also I get this question on these videos, so I thought I would just talk about the needles that I use a little bit. My favorite kind of needle to use is a 9-inch circular needle. So you can see it's quite small, and that is the entire circumference of the needle itself. I like to use a 2.25 millimeter needle, and my favorite knitting needles are the Signature brand needles. Now they have recently announced they are retiring and closing their business. If they have any remaining stock online, that's it. I think it's kind of like buy it now because it might not be available next week, and they are in the process of closing down their business. So I might have gone online and bought a few extra pairs when I found out, because they literally are my favorite needle. Now they are expensive. I just want to put that out there. They are quite expensive, and there are many other very, very fine knitting needle brands. Other brands that I've used and really liked that were far less expensive, Haya Sharps. Haya also has they're called sharps. They are very, very pointy, very sharps, and you can get a really nice definition into your stitch if you tend to have trouble sometimes splitting stitches or anything like that. I really like a nice sharp tip. So Haya is also a nice brand with a 9-inch circular that I've used lots of times. And Ciaogoo, CIAOGOO, I think. I'd have to write it out to actually spell it properly. But that's another brand that's good. Not the least expensive, but they are sort of mid-level needle for cost, and they're very, very good. They also make wonderful cables for longer needles. If you're getting into knitting and you want to know what needles are a good investment, Ciaogoo needles are very, very good. And now I also use, when I'm knitting the heel and the toe, I switch from the little 9-inch circular to using double pointed needles. And I use the same brand, the Signature knitting needles. I have 2 very precious pairs. So they come in sets of 5. I have 2 very precious pairs of sets. There's usually a few sirens going by. We're on a very, very busy street here in London, Ontario, Canada. That's where I'm recording from today. My name's Caroline. Did I even introduce myself? I'm doing everything completely backwards today. These vlogs are a little bit more casual than a regular Flosstube. So I have 2 pairs. They are 2.25 millimeters. Just like my little round one, and they were definitely for me an investment. They were an investment. I only have 2 pairs. I will probably never ever own another pair, and I keep them very safe. I always know where they are. So I use the exact same DPN cozy for them. I never switch it out so that I always know where they are, and I move them from knitting bag to knitting bag to knitting bag depending on what I'm making at the time, so I always know where they are. So those are my knitting needles. So 9-inch circular and double pointed needles. The size that I use to get the tension of sock that I like is a 2.25 millimeter. If you're a really loose knitter, you might want to go down to a 2.0, which I believe is a US 0. I think a 2.25 is a US 1, I think. And then, or if you're a even tighter knitter, maybe you want to use a 2.5 millimeter needle to check to have the gauge produce the fabric that you like to wear. So anyways, yeah, those are my socks. And I was thinking about this yesterday because it's much easier for me to knit while I'm visiting with people instead of stitching. And I mentioned this last week. Part of the reason is when I stitch, I have to take my glasses off to see. And then I struggle to participate in the conversation around me, or feel like I'm part of the conversation because I can't see people. And I like to see people when they're talking to me. So I tend to knit because I can leave my glasses on and I can still participate in the conversation. Usually it's quite simple work that I'm doing. It's just round and round and round. Easy to participate and easy to just keep crafting and not make it seem like a big deal, if that makes sense. So, but I just couldn't put this down. I couldn't put it down. And I thought, well, you know, October is going to be, the beginning half of October is going to be very busy. My original plan was to knit 2 socks over the course of 2 months, so 1 sock per month. But the way that, at the rate that I'm going, I might actually even finish this sock sooner than 1 month. And I think that would be okay because we are hosting Jacob of Modern Folk Embroidery here in London for 2 weekends, 2 retreat weekends in October, and I think I'm not going to have as much time to work on my own personal crafting then. Okay, so somebody had asked on Instagram if I could show them my knitting on the small circular because they couldn't quite visualize it on such a small needle. So I'm going to just move the camera angle so that you can see. I'm going to do, I'll do a little bit of knitting so that you can see my fingers, and then I've got to go and do a little bit of work, and then I'll come back later this afternoon and show you all about my stitching and what I've been up to. So here's my knit. Okay, here we go. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. That one's through the back loop. There we go. Now this is a little further away from my face than I would normally like it, because trying to film it means that I'm not quite in my natural state of knitting here. Oop, through the back loop there, that was a little fiddly. There we go. So normally I'm a little bit quicker than this, but not by much. I'm not a terribly fast knitter, but I do love these little 9-inch circulars. I find them incredibly light, and as long as I don't have a death grip on the needles, I find that they don't aggravate my hands. If I do it too much and I'm really tense or anxious and I start to find this hand cramping up, it just means that I need to step away from my knitting for that day and come back when I'm feeling a little less tense, because I use my hands a lot. I need them to be healthy, stay healthy. So there you go. Hopefully you could see well enough from that little demonstration how I knit on a little 9-inch circular. It is like 40 degrees with the humidity outside, and as you can see, my hair is still in fairly decent shape. I have been staying inside in the air conditioning. I am very, very, very lucky that the air conditioning here at the workshop works so well. It's an older building that we're in, and we have 2 large AC units that are working hard today. So grateful for the air conditioner today. But this did remind me, and I thought, let's do a little giveaway, because I had this floss on my desk. And I thought, you know, one of the things I love doing with these more frequent, you know, daily videos are doing some kind of fun giveaway type things. So I have Carrie, Roxy Floss Co, occasionally has been dyeing some sort of one-of-a-kind floss packs. This is on top and in addition to the regular collection, as well as we have a monthly floss club. And she came up with these palettes a couple of months ago, and she brought them upstairs and she said, I thought these would work really well together. This is kind of a summer palette. This one's a fall palette. So we've called one of them Goodbye Summer, and the other one is Hello Autumn, and they are beautiful. So today I'm giving away a Goodbye Summer pack. So, and then come back tomorrow, I'm gonna give away the Goodbye Autumn. They're on my desk and they're really beautiful, and I thought, let's share. So leave me a comment on this video if you would like to be entered, and I won't choose a winner tomorrow because I'll leave the thing open for a little bit. So next week, maybe let's do a week from today. So next Tuesday, I'll draw the winner for that. And then hopefully by next Tuesday here in London, Ontario, and Ontario General, and elsewhere in the world that is having a current heat issue, it will be a little bit cooler. And I know that there are other places that are hotter than it is here. The 40, 42 degrees with the humidex is pretty darn hot for us here in Ontario, Canada. So it's so humid. Oof, it's so humid. You step outside and it's just like a furnace. But air conditioning is doing its job. All right, so that's the little giveaway. I'm about halfway through the stitching that I need to do for today's allotment of stitches. I'm gonna have a coffee break in a few minutes, and while I drink my coffee, put one more length of floss in. Now, earlier when I said a length of floss, so what that means is basically 12 strands of floss I will be putting into my project, because I am stitching 2 over 2. So yeah, so I'm gonna have some coffee, gonna put another length of floss in, and then back to work. Okay, time for a cup of coffee and a few more X's. Okay, there we go. That didn't take too long. And I've got my stitches in for the day. So tomorrow, I think what I'm gonna do is I really would like to finish the roof. And so you can see on the chart here, I'm gonna finish the roof piece. I'm gonna do that chimney there. I'm gonna finish those two leaves, and I'm gonna finish the top of the vine. So top of the vine, those two leaves, the roof, the chimney, and then if I still have stitches left over to do, I'll do some fill-in on the house with the Pippi floss, which is right there. Exciting. So it's a little later in the day. Nicholas, his first day of school is tomorrow, grade 10. And so my work schedule is going to be changing, so I'm going to be getting here a lot earlier in the morning. So my knitting time in the morning is probably going to disappear. So what I will do instead is probably wait for a little bit of quiet time. When I get to the workshop early and there's no one here, it's nice and quiet, and I can I'll probably get my knitting done first thing in the morning here. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll feel like doing the stitching first. Who knows? But this evening, I thought you might like to see what I have planned for stitching this evening. And what I'll do is I'll maybe take some iPhone pictures or something tonight while I'm working so that I can include them in tomorrow's video. I'm taking home one project in particular that I would really also like to finish this month, and I know I can do it easily, which is the Bloom Wildly. This is the part 2 of a set of 5 that is being released over the next year from 1897 Schoolhouse Samplers. And it's just such a pretty chart. So here is where my stitching is at as of right now. So this is coming home with me in a project bag, and I've got my floss pack ready to go as well, so I'm not forgetting anything. I got my floss, my project, my chart, tuck it all in the project bag right now so I don't forget. So that's gonna be my stitching this evening, but I'm not quite sure how much time I'll have because we've got some school shopping still to do tonight. Nicholas still needs a, oh goodness, what does he need again? He said he needed a new calculator and a new lock. For some reason, he can't find his lock from last year. So we need to go and buy a new lock. And what else? Probably, you know, some paper and a new binder. And also we need to then go to the grocery store and make sure we have some stuff for lunches for both of us to pack our lunch this week. It's not just me packing a lunch this week, starting tomorrow. First day, grade 10. So yeah, so he and I are going to hang out this evening. John is still up north at the cottage. He stayed a little later. My father-in-law is still up there with him. We had our cottage and the decks around it are all wood, right? And so every few years, everything needs to be stained to protect the surfaces. So the cottage, not every couple of years, the cottage usually every 4 or 5 years. And he tends to rotate around the cottage. So he'll do a wall, and then the next year he'll do the next wall, and the next year he'll do the next wall. So that by the time, you know, 4 or 5 years has passed, he's done one pass of the whole thing, because it's quite a challenging job, especially the side that he did this year, which was, this is under some debate. He calls it the front of the cottage, and I call it the side of the cottage, because to me, the front of the cottage needs a door, and there's no door on what he calls the front of the cottage. But it's quite high off the ground. And the terrain where the cottage is, it's Canadian Shield. It's all rock and, you know, juniper bushes, which we call spreaders, and all kinds of stuff. It's not very secure. So he bought some special additions for his ladder to make the ladder a lot more secure so that he would have a solid base. We do have some scaffolding that we keep under the cottage, but it's just not, it's for one person to be working by themselves. It's just not quite as safe. So took all the safety precautions. He's been up there working hard. We are due for some rain up there starting tomorrow through Thursday. So he wanted to make sure that he got as much done before, while the weather was still good. So I can't imagine it's been a whole lot of fun for him up there today. The mosquitoes have been terrible. Terrible mosquitoes, because it's been so wet, and you know, being up on a ladder while you're trying to paint, and it's so hot and humid, as well as muggy mosquitoes. So the poor guy, when he gets home tomorrow night, will have to I don't know, do something nice for him when he comes home tomorrow night. He's been working really hard. Okay, so that's it for me today. Time to get back to work here at the workshop, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and have a great night. Happy stitching. I really hope you're enjoying Sampler September so far. I am loving these two projects. They are just, you know, sharing them with you every day has been so much fun for me. Very, very motivating for me to keep going and see these through for the whole month, which is kind of fun. All right, take care, everybody. See you tomorrow.